Hello everybody, welcome to Fruitful Trees, and here I am in my yard just checking out all my mango trees and how great they're growing. As the weather is growing, the rain is coming down and the trees are just getting bigger and bigger. This here is a peach cobbler, which was my first tree that I converted myself, that I grafted myself from a tree stump, and it's looking great. And that's on, I think, a curry or a lemon meringue rootstock. But I didn't grow up and have family that taught me this. I learned this myself through the internet and through other people and my neighbor and other people that have been growing. But the main way I learned, and what I want to encourage you today, and this is about what today's video is about, is to practice and do it yourself and see what works best for your situation, for your yard, and what's happening at your place. By trying things out and seeing, that's the best way, because you can read a lot of things on the internet. People could say a lot of things about what's happening and what's not happening, but that might be true for where they are in their own place. And I've seen, not only from yard to yard, I've seen from tree to tree, two trees right next to each other grow a little bit differently. The same exact tree planted at the same time, and so on. So we want to experiment and so on. So I know a local farm here, and they say lemon zest mangoes are so bad, they get bacterial black spot so bad, they don't even have them on their farm. But my neighbor across the street here, he has a lemon zest tree that does wonderful. It gets the BBS, but not as bad. So the best way to learn is by experimenting yourself and see what grows best in the environment you're in. And also experiment things that you have ideas, or maybe things nobody's done before. Try it. When I walk along the street here, there's one house that has 5 or 6 mango trees, literally, 1 foot apart from each other. And these are old mango trees, and they all get mangoes on them. But the only way to know is to try. It seems like that's too close, it won't work. Most likely it wouldn't, but the only way to know is try. And then, you get to learn things, and you can make adjustments as things goes along. I'm looking at my trees here and always thinking about the future, or thinking how I can improve things. Maybe some of my trees are too close together, maybe not. I'm starting to think which trees maybe I could get rid of in the future if I need to, but I should have thought of that before I planted the trees. But then you learn new things about the new trees and so on. So it's a never-ending thing where you're learning and you're growing, but always doing the research and experimenting. That's the key, is experiment and see what works best for you. And I'm seeing what trees are growing well here, and tasting the different fruits and learning. And there's inland, and then there's the coast, and then there's where you are, right? So and each year is different as well. So one of my suggestions and keys today is to not just to take note of things in your mind, but write things down. Write things you've tried down, things that work, things that haven't worked, things you want to try. Maybe get a computer page open and things to-do list to write it down, or write them down, just on a hand pad or something, and keep these things in mind and notice these things, and everything from grafting and what's working, what techniques you have found to work best for you and not, because there's no two people that is figured out in 100% agreement with everyone. Always, everyone has some differences, so don't get confused by the differences. Get motivated by the differences. Notice you might have differences also, but do what's working for you. So it's a rainy season now. So suppose coming up, it's been raining every day here right now. As you can see, the grass gets high really fast, so it needs to be mowed. But I'm just monitoring to see what trees are growing. It's getting close, and this is an important tip for you mango lovers out there. We're turning into September, so it's getting close. Unless you have a late season variety, some people say it's okay to cut back your tree up till Thanksgiving. That has not been my experience. If you wait till Thanksgiving, especially in the early varieties, it's going to be too late for you to get a bloom next year on the earlier varieties. So maybe the late varieties you can get away with it, but by now, or like really close to now, is the time you should have already been cutting back your trees and trimming your trees, your mango trees, for next season. And so this yard's relatively small, so I didn't have to do too much. I could still do some tipping here. So for example, this is a fruit cocktail mango tree, and 2 hand lengths is the ideal. So 1, 2. So you see here, so now that's the tip. Now, if this was coming out all the way up here, I'd want to cut it at 2 hand lengths. 1, 2. I learned that trick from Richard Campbell, and what that does is it's going to put the most, when it grows, it's going to put the most tips at the end here, and 1 mango can go at each tip. So I'm going to, instead of getting 1 mango at 1 tip here, if I cut it here and it starts budding out all around, then I'll get now 4 or 5 mangoes on this. That's the way you keep smaller trees with a lot of mangoes. So as I'm looking at my trees, I'll keep a look and I'll see 1, 2. I'll try to clip them at 2 hand lengths for now on these trees. And I don't want my trees to get too big. So whenever it's going up, growing straight up the sprout, I'm going to cut that definitely. So it stays on the shorter and it'll be more bushy out. So on the side, I'll maybe go a little bit more, but on the top, definitely no more than 2 hand lengths. And so just continuously clipping now. So now's the time you can come out and clip. But be careful. You don't want to do it too late where it's affecting next year's bloom. And so here's a great example. I'm going to come out here later today. This one is a guava mango. So if you look at this here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Not good. So I'm going to come back here and just clip that today. I'm going to clip that. I'm going to clip that. See, this one's a good example. This one's a great example. So there's 1. There's 2. It's a little bit more, maybe 2.5. And then I clipped it already previously. So now there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you see the difference between these two? This is very important to understand. So this one is 1 long sprout, and maybe I'll get a mango up here. This one is a long sprout, but there's 4 coming out of here. Now, some people say you shouldn't have 4 coming out of the same area. It weakens it. Other people say that it's not been their experience. But regardless, so now there's 4. So these are going to get 4 mangoes versus this one getting 1 mango. So that's 1 tip. So I'm going to come here and just tip those. And especially because they're growing up and not sideways. Sideways, I'm still going to tip them because I still want more tips. But that's just an example of things you want to realize. Before they sprout out at the top, you want to kind of tip them. So here's another example of this one here. Here's 1, 2. You know, I left it at that. I'm not going to let this grow up to here. I'm going to make it clipped. So then I start growing sideways, and you keep them clipped like that. So that's what I'm going to do here today. I'm going to walk around this mango farm here and just quickly tip some of the trees that are growing higher than I'd like. And again, this is it. I don't want to do it after this because it's getting kind of late. So here's my cotton candy. Another example. So it's 1, 2, and then there's 3 here. I tipped it last year. You don't want them to get too high. All right, so there's other fruits in season now. We're in sugar apple season now. Star fruits are coming now, and other things are coming now as well. So it's an exciting time. It's always exciting when you're growing food. But if you have any tips, suggestions that's worked for you, put them below and let people know. That's why we learn from each other. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Subscribe if you like. And until then, everybody, keep growing.